The little eyes on the sides give them... Oh, it jumped. Thanks for watching. Good morning, friends. Welcome to the third video in my series where I comment on and react to short videos, shorts, TikToks, Reels, whatever you call them, that you've sent me. For the past 2 to 3 weeks, my email inbox, Instagram and Facebook have been bombarded with messages containing various links to more or less surprising videos, from which I have chosen the most interesting ones. Most often these links were accompanied by your request for my commentary, so today I'm responding to that. We'll start off very lightly. Martin's eyes, then we'll discuss some truly bizarre creatures. You've sent me videos of these creatures many times, so it's time to address them. Let's begin. The first video, as I said, features a jumping spider. Jumping spiders. Beautiful, charming, and surprisingly smart for spiders. I currently have 2 of them. Here you can see Sanchik, who is just wandering around on my forearm. You know, jumping spiders from my videos, they're amazing to watch, surprisingly smart for arachnids, and depend on eyesight to hunt. It's also amazing that few spiders, like those in the jumping spider and Dinopidae families, rely on eyesight. Jumping spiders use vision to track prey, and some can even plan hunting strategies. Generally, these little spiders are really cute. Look, this male is about to do what the one in the video did. Do you see that? That's exactly why I love them. Yeah. It's just such an amazing spectacle, especially because of the way they look. I mean, they have this, let's call it a human-like appearance in quotation marks, with a pair of big eyes in the front and smaller eyes on the sides. That gives them... Oh, he jumped. That gives them an absolutely adorable look. Of course, jumping spiders also inspired the little spider. Oops. Jumping spiders are actually very helpful for people with arachnophobia because they were the basis for the animation called Lucas the Spider. Lucas the Spider. Lucas the Spider is actually dedicated to people who are afraid of spiders, and thanks to that they can get rid of, or at least reduce their phobia. As I said, these spiders are excellent observers and active hunters. Watching them leap at prey is impressive. The name jumping spiders fits perfectly. They really do jump at their prey. This male is quite a dancer. It's really something amazing. Maybe he'll jump? Oh, that's it. That's how they jump. And you know, it's just something brilliant. Time for the next video. Hi. Ouch. Yes, it's quite a strong, let's say, material that shows what a tarantula bite looks like. This is a Solifugae cambridgei, the Trinidad chevron tarantula, if I recall correctly. I have an adult female in that terrarium, but she's been hiding for 2 months and doesn't come out to me. She's sulking. And that video appeared online quite a while ago, but I wanted to point out here that I'm a bit surprised by that video because I always had the impression that those chelicerae, so the venom claws of tarantulas, would actually go into the skin. Into the skin like a knife through butter. But it turns out that human skin isn't that easy to pierce, and even if the spider is strong and those chelicerae are as sharp as needles, the spider might still have trouble breaking through. Although, in the end, I suspect that most large spiders wouldn't have a problem piercing through the more delicate parts of the skin. Anyway, good material. It's worth knowing what can happen if you stick your hands into tarantulas' enclosures, or rather, what could happen, right? Because after all, Solifugae cambridgei isn't the kind of spider that's like a plush toy or like a terrestrial type or something. These fast, impulsive arboreal spiders shouldn't be handled. Moving on. These videos are very popular, very viral, and they feature spiders from the Sicarius genus. Spiders from the Sicarius genus are illegal to keep in Poland without permits. They are highly venomous, with potent venom that strongly affects humans, earning them a spot on the dangerous animals list. Just like, for example, the Australian tarantula, right? The Australian tarantula, that is Atrax robustus. Like for nutria, Brazilian wandering spiders, Sicarius spiders are also unavailable for breeding. So I just can't record them here. Maybe someday on a trip to the Czech Republic where everything is legal, I'll be able to record this live spectacle of them burying themselves, because they really are amazing. What they actually do is, if they have sandy ground, they dig a burrow for their body and then cover themselves with that sand. They are also very fast. As you've seen, the attack is lightning quick. And because of the strength of their venom, the prey practically doesn't stand a chance. Ooh, what's that face? How cute. And that little butt too. Okay, I need a prop here. What you just saw was a close-up of a bee's head. A big bee like that, most likely from the Xylocopa genus. They're very popular under the English name Carpenter bees. And here I have an example of such a bee. This is a bee from the Xylocopa genus, probably Xylocopa estuans, which is preserved and comes from Indonesia. In Poland, though rare, we can also find the so-called big black bee. This is Xylocopa violacea, if I recall. Check how many species we can encounter in Poland. Anyway, bees from the Xylocopa genus are very, very calm bees. As you saw, this guy is holding a female. And as we know from previous videos, female aculeates, which include bees, have stingers, so why didn't she sting him? Apparently she didn't feel threatened. These little bees are actually very friendly. If you squeezed her harder, the bee would sting, which wouldn't be pleasant. But other than that, they're pretty nice, fluffy, and they don't hurt anyone. Of course, they're pollinators. In Poland, as it gets warmer, bees from the Xylocopa genus known as Zadrzeknia in Polish are starting to appear. And that's a really good sign. In Southern Europe, they're very common. Just look, it's so adorable. Oh yes, this video has been sent to me so many times, and I've really been asked so many times, hey, is this real? So I'm answering no, it's not real. Just like you have, for example, a ride through the Białowieża forest on an old train, well, that's a tourist attraction that was probably created to, I don't know, cause fear on the faces of those watching. And that spider that's on the tree there is obviously fake. It's either a sculpture or some kind of form. Spiders aren't that big, right? Plus, it's not moving and looks unnatural. Actually, for some people it might be terrifying because, as far as I know, if someone has arachnophobia, or even if they don't, but they're just afraid of spiders, even these dead, fake, unreal creatures seem scary. So it's not real, right? Just chill.
Hello everyone. So right here is a pretty momentous moment for me. This is a Goliath Regius cell.
I wanted to show you this video basically so you could see what the birth process of Goliath beetles looks like. Because of Goliath beetles, let me show you. You might recognize Goliath beetles from my videos. This is my last male Goliathus, a beautiful beetle, though he tends to get a bit nervous. What this video shows is the process, as I said, the so-called birth of these beetles. Since beetles undergo complete metamorphosis, what does that mean? It means that there's an egg, then a larva, which is called a grub, then a pupa, and then an imago. Imago means the adult beetle, the adult insect. Now, since the larva, which feeds on decaying wood or simply underground, is very, very delicate, when the time comes that it is full, after it has gone through all three molts, because Goliath beetle larvae, if I remember correctly, have 3 molts, then it decides, okay, it's time to turn into a pupa, and from the pupa, after some time, after several or even a dozen months, a beetle like this will emerge. But in order to turn into a pupa, it needs space for that. So the larva creates something like a chamber, probably from its saliva and the surrounding soil. In this case, the chamber is called a coccolite. A coccolite is very hard and tough for the beetle to break through, though they can. So why does this person open it by hand? Mainly to avoid tiring the beetle, since breaking through would use a lot of its energy. Also, if the beetle breaks the coccolite itself, it risks getting scratched. With Goliath beetles, which are collector's beetles, it's important they stay in top condition. In excellent condition and virtually flawless, as if... And if such a beetle gets scratched, then it's no longer perfect, so that's why he does it by hand. Anyway, it's a very interesting process, and here you can see the approximate size of the coccolith, from which I remind you, one beetle comes out, and these are the heaviest beetles in the world. It's crazy, they're just so huge and they can fly. Next. This is a powerful video that clearly shows a tick. The previous episode also focused on ticks. From what I can see, I'm guessing this is a tick from the Dermacentaur genus, but that's just a guess, since I don't even know where this tick was caught. It just looks like the ones from the Dermacentaur genus we have here. From what I can see, it's a male. It's worth a brief clarification here. In the last video I said that ticks that are males, like the one in this short video, don't feed on blood. That's nonsense, I lied to you shamelessly. Krzysztof, let it go. Male ticks also feed on blood, but they require much less than females. And basically, if such a tick attaches itself to an animal or a human, its main intention, besides taking a little sip of blood, is to find a mate. And sex in ticks looks as if one tick is stuck into another tick. I suspect this video was made for views, because after all, the guy recorded himself with a tick in his mouth. What else could this video be for? Still, I wouldn't be surprised if someone found a tick in their mouth. Seriously, ticks are so nasty, so unpredictable, they can bite in places where we'd never expect to find them. The next video, this one is intense. Listen, you sent this to me so many times and I got asked so many times whether this is real, whether something like this actually exists in the world. Yes. Something like this does exist in the world. And this particular specimen, this big one, because I'll show you another one here, this particular specimen was probably found in Southeast Asia, because that's where this species occurs. What is it? It's, how should I put it? Basically a large winged insect. That's the name of the order of insects, large winged or Megaloptera. In Poland we have their counterparts, but they're much smaller and don't have such large jaws. A great example is the alderfly. These are insects commonly found near rivers or standing water because they're closely linked to aquatic environments. And these insects are also associated with water, and they can be found in almost all parts of the world. You can find them in North America, you can find them in Asia, you can find them in the Middle East, and in many other places as well. And this particular specimen belongs to the genus Acanthacridalis. And yes, this thing really exists, it really walks on our planet. What's more, it flies. Well, since the name of the whole order is Megaloptera, it's obvious that it has large wings, it can fly, and because of its strong phototaxis, they often fly toward light, and as a result, they often end up in people's homes. Don't worry, there's nothing to fear. In Poland, insects with big jaws don't exist. Second, those big jaws are mainly for display, some defense, but mostly to hold on to females. However, they're not carnivorous. They don't use them for hunting, like for mice, rabbits, or other animals. Those pincers, even though they look scary, won't do much harm to a person, and the insects themselves are herbivores. I think they feed, if I remember correctly, on tree sap, so there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of here. But it's true, they do look terrifying. And here's an interesting fact. This species, Acanthocorydalis fructiferi, which is its full scientific name, holds the Guinness World Record for the largest wingspan, which is over 21 centimeters among insects whose development takes place partly in water. So yeah, a giant. There was once an opportunity to get a preserved specimen like that, but it cost over 1,000 zlotys, so I decided to pass on it. However, if I get the chance, maybe a bit cheaper, I'll buy it and show you how big it is. We're moving on to the last video, and it's also the one I received from you the most times. Oh yes, this is it. This is insane, listen. Alright, finally I think it's time to clear up the doubts, because many of you have also asked me what this even is and whether something like this really exists. Yes, something like this really exists. It's simply a Solifugae. You know Solifugae from my channel. I once showed you a large, beautiful Galeodes Solifugae that sadly didn't live long with me. Solifugae are very difficult to keep, and I have to admit I couldn't manage it. They're better known as camel spiders, especially in English, that's a generally recognized name. And the problem here is that Solifugae, as semi-desert or semi-arid animals, are mainly associated with that kind of coloring, desert or semi-desert. So we have yellows, ochres, and various shades that are more or less reminiscent of sand. But this specimen is completely black, like pitch, and that's its natural coloration, but it has absolutely all the features that define this creature as a Solifugae. It has that strange, soft, segmented body, 4 pairs of walking legs, a pair of pedipalps that end in sticky tips which help it catch prey, and those pedipalps also serve a bit as sensory organs. They have a lot of hairs. It has a pair of huge, very strong chelicerae armed with teeth, which are set vertically and work like this. They simply cut like a saw. One advantage of this Solifugae is that it's not venomous, so its bite isn't serious unless it breaks the skin. If it does, the Chelicerae can transfer many microbes, which can be harmful. Solifugae are terribly messy. They get all covered in their prey, you know, they just mash it up, eat it, and don't clean themselves, and that's how they stay. So unfortunately, those Chelicerae are teeming with bacteria and other nasty, weird things. A bite from it is very unpleasant. The strong Chelicerae can break skin and cause infection, so I don't recommend it. By the way, those big cylindrical Solifugae are commonly called giant black camel spiders in the trade, Tada. And that's all for now, my friends. Of course, let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it and if you have other interesting videos worth commenting on that you'd like me to include in the next batch of materials. For the next video, you know what to do. Send them to me on Instagram, Gmail or Facebook and we'll make more videos in this series. In the meantime, I'll say goodbye to you, wish you a nice day, and hey,